What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel as you tune in and you check out the content. And with that being said, man, in this video, I want to talk about a perspective of this Shannon Sharpe scandal or situation that nobody else is really looking at, right? And the reason why I'm kind of led to thinking that there's more behind this scandal and this situation is because recently there's been people have been talking about Shannon trying to get back with a major network. And from day one, that was Shannon Sharpe's plan, right? To get back with a major network. Same thing with Skip Bayless, right? And so think about this. Skip Bayless and Shannon had their disagreement, I think, when they were on Fox, and they all Skip said some things to Shannon. Shannon didn't appreciate. Then they had a falling out, right? And that was a big deal back in the back a couple years ago. And so they both went their own way. Shannon, he was on Club Shay Shay, and then he got Nightcap, and he had a lot of success. He's having success. It's been all up until recently. For Skip Bayless, he kind of fell off a little bit, right? He left Fox. Then he started his own little, he had his own podcast that didn't really take off. And so Skip Bayless has been trying to work his way back in, right? And so now you got these two guys. You got Skip on one side, you got Shannon on the other side, and they're both trying to work their way back into the major media, right? Shannon is trying to get back with Stephen A. Smith and major media. And now, recently, I heard that Skip wants back in too. Skip wants to be back on mainstream media. He's not going to be at Fox, but he want to be back at ESPN, right? So you can't have Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe both back there at the same time. And remember, when Skip Bayless had that, he was caught up in that scandal, and Joy Taylor was also involved, and there was like some lady who said that, made some allegations against Skip. Some people said that Shannon was behind that. Now, was Shannon behind it? Who knows, right? But just think about this. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe both know that both of these guys can't go back to ESPN. Like, there is only going to be one or the other. And so when a situation like this come out for against Shannon Sharpe, this right here benefits Skip Bayless. This, because I think ESPN was kind of feeling out Shannon Sharpe, right? And trying to say, well, all right, let's see what happens with, like if he's able to stay away from scandals and clean up his name. And he was doing that for a while. Like I said, was working his way back into the good graces of the major networks. And now this right here come back out. And I wouldn't be surprised that if somebody, maybe not Skip Bayless, but somebody with some power and influence is brought this story out about Shannon Sharpe, because it's no coincidence that this story came out at the time, the timing when Shannon Sharpe, he's his sponsors and things, people sort of kind of like, is starting to forget about it. He did like a little test run with himself, him and Stephen A. Smith. He's starting to be seen more out with Stephen A., from time to time, right? So people want to get used to that that visual, that sight of seeing those two together, which that don't work well for Skip Bayless. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if all this wasn't a like intentional, like brought out at the right time just to get Shannon Sharpe out of the picture. He was, his sponsors were starting to come back, and he continued to do these interviews. This is this kind of scandal right here is just what somebody like Skip Bayless would need, because Shannon Sharpe is independent. And so, he Club Shay Shay is his. Nightcap is his. So how do you go after somebody like Shannon Sharpe? You ruin their reputation, and you make it to where they are basically untouchable when it comes to sponsors and their public image. So ESPN won't be able to bring Shannon Sharpe back with these continuous, he had that situation with the young lady where he had to pay her out. The audio came out about, some things with him saying she's the way he wanted her to talk to him and all that stuff. That was a bad look. Then she sued him and got millions of dollars. I forgot how much money she got, but she got a lot of money out of that. So that wasn't a good look for Shannon Sharpe. And he was beginning to get past that situation, right? And, he lost some sponsors, but the reason why they couldn't cancel him all the way out, like that would have been, if he didn't have Club Shay Shay and what is it called? Nightcat. When he had that situation with that young lady, that would have been a death blow for him, right? Because he would have lost everything. But because he had he was independent and had his own thing going on, he lost some sponsors, but he still continued to rebuild from there. And so this right here, like I said, this scandal right here, I think just is going to put him in a situation where the networks are going to say, well, we can't really bring you back because, you've had, it's just not a good look. You just had so much bad publicity around you and stuff like that. And so Skip Bayless definitely benefits from this. Now, I'm trying to think. I want to play the audio from the Tasha K show because, like, when you listen to Tasha K and all this stuff, like I said, what gets lost is the fact that who benefits from this situation. Everybody focus on like it's this salacious information that's coming out about Shannon Sharpe. And everybody just focus on that. But I like to think about like who like this. All right, it destroys Shannon Sharpe. So who benefits from destroying Shannon Sharpe? And that's why But I'm gonna play this audio anyway.
All right, Mr. Shannon Sharpe. I literally did not get any sleep last night, thanks to work, thanks to Shaq. And I've been up, and then I was up at 6 a.m. this morning talking to a young lady in my DM that was really frustrated about what she found in her boyfriend's phone, okay? And I said, well, send it to me, okay? And so she sent it to me, and she said, I just don't understand why my boyfriend would have these photos of him and Shannon Sharpe in the same hotel room with Shannon Sharpe's stylist, Hollywood. Hollywood has been romantically linked to Shannon Sharpe, the stylist, the one he publicly took on basketball dates, traveled with to Paris. They no longer work for each other, or they're no longer together because allegedly, according to sources that are close to the parties, Hollywood's in the Blue Hat, walked in on his new show producer, Jordan, with Shannon. Okay. Remember that whole Instagram video? Yeah, Michelle. Get it, Michelle. And Shannon Sharpe came live to talk about that and said Jordan logged him out of his Instagram. So how do you go live on your Instagram accidentally? And Jordan, your photographer, they dress alike. They go out together like he's supposed to be the cameraman. He's always in parties. He takes his boyfriends out and makes it seem like they're working a job, right? And he said, oh, Jordan had to cut my Instagram off. I didn't even know it was off, and I was in it. And it was like he told on himself. If you go live on Instagram right now, your mom, if somebody has access to your Instagram, cannot log in and log you out. That does not happen. They have to have access to your phone, the one that you went live on, to press end. So when he said that, I said, but you know what? Social media, they ain't going to give a damn. They ain't going to think. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing was staged, and according to sources, it was Jordan that was in that room. That was the Michelle. Yeah, Michelle. Yeah, Jordan. Yeah, Michelle. Okay. So he was in some booty.
All right. So, like when you hear stuff like that, right? Like this is for Shannon Sharpe. These rumors and these type of situations is just not going to go away. And so is not good publicity, and I think it's going to hurt Shannon Sharpe's opportunity to to move back up and make a comeback as far as like getting back into mainstream media. That's going to hurt his situation. When on the other hand, Skip Bayless, if you watch what Skip Bayless is doing, he's quietly repositioning himself to make a comeback. And I think that's what's going to happen. Like we get really caught up into all the salacious stuff that we just heard from Tasha K, and what's going on with him and the guy that they dressing alike and stuff like that. But like, think about the timing. This coming at a time where Shannon Sharpe is about to make he about to make big moves and try to go back into ESPN. The same thing with the young lady, like that came at a time he was getting ready to sign a $120 million contract with ESPN. And again, I don't think it's no coincidence that these things keep coming up when Shannon Sharpe is getting ready to make, he's getting ready to recover or bounce back, or he get ready to see himself level up again. The young lady sued him, and now you have this. Every time Shannon Sharpe try to make a move that's going to put more money in his pocket, that's going to help him to level up, these kind of situations come. And I think people want, whoever Shannon Sharpe's his enemies are, want him to know that, this is not going to go away. These type of situations not going to go away. And so these, like I said, the timing is, in my opinion, is just kind of suspicious, but that's my take on it. Just don't get caught up in like the salacious part of it, but think about like why this is, why this keep happening to Shannon Sharpe every time he's getting ready to level up, and Shannon must have some really, really powerful enemies. And so that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm gonna check y'all out in my next video. Peace.